Okay, friends, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words, my friends, can really hurt you. That's how that saying should go. Today on the Soul-u-tions podcast, we're going to talk about the power of your words. And I have a little research for you because this isn't a trivial matter. This is probably one of the most important things you could ever tend to in your life. And so we'll get to it on the other side of that fabulous intro. Einstein said, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them." Most everyone in the world is solving their problems the wrong way. Our problems come from our thinking, and we can solve them with our thinking. So whether you're at your lowest, just trying to grow, or whether you are trying to sustain growth over your lifetime, join us as we push the boundaries of our current thinking and redefine how we find Soul-u-tions.
The hope and the strength and the love and the smiles and the laughter of friends and family. Add it up, you'll find no limit to the possibilities.
Every August in the Soulshine Labs, the theme that we focus on is appreciate you. It's a bit of a play on words. It's appreciate with the capital U. So it's kind of this you as in yourself, appreciate yourself, and appreciate you as in university. It really is a deep dive in the power of appreciation and why it's something that you want to invest your time, attention, and honestly your money in, especially if you're working with a coach or if you're a member of a coaching group like the Soulshine Labs. So every year, though, I bring fresh material to August and appreciate you. And so I ran across the most mind-blowing research, and I wanted to share it with you because I firmly believe that the more you learn to appreciate yourself, and I really sincerely mean appreciate yourself, the more, take yourself seriously, take who you are and the roles that you play seriously, take the impact you want to make in the world seriously. And to do that, you really need to appreciate who you are, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and learn to speak to yourself with a sense of high regard for the whole you. So while this has always been a topic of personal development and spirituality and the whole self-love movement, what I always love is to find the intersection, the Venn diagram crossover between the ancient and spiritual wisdom of the world and science, and today's science. And that is what I love to see, how science kind of proves some of these wise teachings that we've inherited, and then also how science can give new meaning to that. And as a former lawyer, I'm always trying to make a case for you and how you can live your best life. And what the research shows is that one of the most important places to start with is the words that you speak to yourself. They matter. Now, I challenged some people on social media last week. I said, listen, think about something that you appreciate about yourself, drop it in the comments below, and let's get a bit of a little celebratory train going. Well, some of the members of the lab in our own private, we have an app and that we communicate on, and so we have this really private group. And it looks like a little, social media page, but it's just us. Anyway, they said, I really like Tara's suggestion. It sounds like a really cool thing to do, but I'm really having a hard time coming up with something that I appreciate about myself? And then the question, it was a really earnest and honest and genuine question, like anyone else. Is there anyone else out there that has a hard time coming up with something nice to say about themselves, something that you appreciate about yourself? And of course, another member immediately replied to that and said, well, let me tell you what I appreciate about you. You're a great friend and you have fantastic hair, which I just love because she came up with two things. But what she didn't do was come up with something about herself, right? She still came up with something about the other person. And then when the original poster saw that, of course, she responded and she said, you are too kind to me. And then she said, it's your turn. Tell me something about you. But interestingly enough, the original poster didn't post anything that she appreciated about herself still. Like, the assignment remained undone. And the women thought that really by saying something that they appreciated about the other person and how easily it came to mind, that maybe they would inspire each other to say something nice about themselves. But no, it still remained super hard. And so I thought, wow, if this is happening to the people who are in the Soulshine Lab, I bet it's happening to a lot more people. And so I wanted to take the time today and on this podcast to kind of spell out for you why this is a skill set that would be worth your time to learn and what the impact this will have on your life. So let me read a little bit of the research for you. If you're watching this on the YouTube, it's like cue the reading glasses on the middle-aged mama's face. All right, here we go. Positive and negative words not only affect us on a deep psychological level, but they have a significant impact on the outcome of our lives. I'm going to repeat that for you. Positive and negative words not only affect us on a deep psychological level, but they have a significant impact on the outcome of our lives. This is another way of saying the words you use matter. They matter. How you speak to yourself matters. It actually isn't just something that you hear yourself say in your head that doesn't have any impact or consequence. It actually plays into how you show up in your life and how you achieve the things that you want to achieve and how your relationships develop. Now, why is that, you might wonder? Well, part of the reason is because the words that we say actually release chemicals in our bodies. So the research also says that negative words release stress and anxiety-inducing hormones in the test subjects. So when you speak to yourself in a really mean way, when you say, look at yourself in the mirror and say, oh, I'm so fat, or where in the world did those wrinkles come from? Or what in the heck is happening to my neck? You're actually releasing stress hormones in your body. You're creating a homeostasis of anxiety just in response to what you think is an observation about, in this case, your aging process, right? You are a human, and I'm 56. I do not look like my beautiful 26-year-old niece who's an Instagram influencer. My skin is not as, I don't know, supple And I have a lot more gray hair, but I have also a very deep and rich lived experience, one that is waiting for her that she hasn't lived through yet, but one that I've already lived through, and there's more to come. So when we just say a blanket statement like, oh, you're fat, or look at those wrinkles, or where did that sunspot come from? It isn't an innocent commentary. It isn't an innocent comment. It actually is hurting you, and not just psychologically, but it truly is like creating stress hormones in your body, which we don't need. The ones we don't need. More on the research. These results suggest that negative self-talk plays a role in the generation or maintenance of anxiety in normal children. Now, this I think is really important for those of us who are parents, for those of us who may be grandparents. Listen, you may be an aunt or an uncle, or perhaps you own your own business, you work with other people. If you are interacting with other humans, and if any of those humans are young humans or children, and I define children as anyone under the age of, let's just say 21, and they overhear you talking to yourself, like it sounds so innocent. You cannot find your keys, and you go, I am so stupid. Where did I put my keys? And this child, your child, a niece or nephew, a grandchild, whomever overhears you, they are going to internalize that comment. They're going to say, oh, when you can't find your keys and you're a grown-up, that means you're stupid. And they're going to put those two things together. When you can't remember something, it means you're stupid. And so they record that in their memory banks. And then when they can't find something, what do? They mimic you, they model you, and they bring forth that same negative self-talk that they heard you speak. And so when they do this, the research is showing that this begins to create anxiety in normal children. And by normal, that we just mean, neurotypical children that don't have any neurodiversity or not a profound case of some neurodiversity. So, wow. I mean, that sincerely gives me pause, because when you're thinking about making an impact on the world, you think about your self-talk being overheard by these little impressionable creatures that drive you crazy half the time and you love all of the time. But the power of your words are impacting yourself in that case, because you're speaking negatively about yourself, right? So now you've got stress hormones that are releasing in your body. And then you've got this little one that heard it, who's recording it, and then they get in a situation, and then they call themselves stupid, and then now they're triggering stress hormones in their body. So now we're generating anxiety. And then the research that says, or not just generating anxiety, but also maintaining anxiety. There's so much anxiety in the world right now about a lot of things. And it doesn't take a lot to trigger what I'm going to call an anxiety spiral. So it starts with, I can't find my keys. And then it goes down to, and I'm so stupid. And then it's all the other things that you've forgotten. And then it's, I'm so stupid by that. And by the time, if you're able to find your keys, you finally get them, you're probably running late for something, and now you're going to talk bad to yourself about that. And, it just keeps going until you know the power of your words, until you really begin to understand and appreciate how you're speaking to yourself, and decide that if it matters this much, if I really want to change something in the world, if I really want to make an impact in the world, maybe this is the place to start. Maybe the place to start is how I speak to myself, because it matters to me and it matters to all of the people who are watching me as an example of what is possible in the world. So ultimately, negative words, whether they're spoken, they're heard, or they're thought, not only cause situational stress, but also contribute to long-term anxiety. So if you have any anxiety, if you consider yourself an anxious person or a semi-anxious person, I really want you to listen to this research and the power of your words, and begin to let this be an invitation for you to begin to listen to the self-talk that you're using. Now, how do we get around it? If a single word has the power to influence the expression of our genes that regulate our physical and emotional stress, how do we move from speaking negatively to ourselves, right? How do we break the habit of negative self-talk and move into the habit of positive self-talk? Well, the answer is something truly interesting. It's one of my favorite tools, and I learned this from another coach, but we call this tool intentional thought creation. I want you to, we're going to just do it right now while you're listening to the podcast. I want you to, on purpose, this goes back to my original social media challenge, I want you to think of something positive about yourself just in this moment. Now, if you're drawing a blank, no big deal. We all draw blanks about things, so you're not stupid, right? If you hear yourself saying, "Oh, I'm stupid," just hit the stop button on that and say, "Okay, what if I wasn't stupid? What if this is just new to me and I'm not accustomed to thinking nice things about myself on purpose? So I'm going to approach this like it's a new adventure." What tiny thing do you already believe that you do well? One tiny, small thing that you not only do well, let's just go for it. Like you really hit it out of the ballpark with this. You might come up with something immediately. If you did, awesome. Hold on to that thing. But if you're still having a little bit of trouble, I want you to think about, this is what I suggested to this person that was having a hard time in the Soulshine Labs. She goes, "I'm just not an expert in anything. Like, Tara, you're an expert at coaching. You're an expert at, negotiating things as a lawyer. You raise money for childhood cancer, blah, 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 blah. Like you have these expertise that I don't have." So you can hear in that, and I want you to just check in with yourself to see if you have this quality where you're comparing yourself to other people in a negative way. They call that comparing and despairing. So you're looking at someone else's expertise and you're saying, "I don't have that expertise. therefore, ergo, as my geometry professor used to say in high school, ergo, there's nothing awesome about me. It's easy for her because she has these areas of expertise. Again, that's okay. You're just in the habit of comparing yourself to others and despairing about it. So we're just going to stick with the question of finding something that you're amazing at. So when I looked at this person, I know that she's an amazing cook. Like, she kills it in the kitchen. I am not an amazing cook. It's not something that I've devoted my time and attention to developing, and I totally love it when I see it in other people. So I'm like, you know what you're amazing at is jambalaya. And she was like, yeah, I am amazing at that. I really do make a good jambalaya. And I said, so there you are. There's something that you already believe that you do. It was interesting. I was on another coaching call after that, and this happened to be the same conversation on that call. And there was another woman, a very, very accomplished person, and she was struggling with finding something to feel good about herself for. And she kind of had a very similar litany of, well, I just don't have anything. And the coach on that call said, yeah, but you make an amazing hummus. It's so creamy. It's so good. And the woman's like, I do. I make a great hummus. And I was just kind of gobsmacked a bit by the similarities of the way we think about ourselves. And I share this with you because I want you to feel like you're not alone here. I want you to know that if it isn't easy for you to come up with something to appreciate by yourself, it doesn't mean there's nothing to appreciate about yourself. It doesn't mean that all that negative self-talk that you've been engaged in for all these years is true. It just simply means that the neural circuitry in your brain has been wired to think negative thoughts to such an extent that they've become unconscious. And so this is why I love this tool of intentional thought creation, because it's just now time for you to enter the world of learning how to think and speak positively about yourself, and to begin to value having a high regard for yourself. So start with some place that you believe to be true, something about yourself that you know that you do well. There is something. What is your version of jambalaya or your version of hummus? I mean, maybe you're a great listener. Maybe you're an amazing gardener. Maybe you are a great cheerleader on the sidelines. Maybe you pack an awesome lunch. Maybe you make a great bed. You can see that there's something that you do well, and it doesn't really matter what it is. What matters is that you can pull it up and think it on purpose any time of the day or night that you want. And this is what we call exercising positive thoughts. That's all intentional thought creation is. It's just truly exercising, like when you go for a walk. And I love stacking my habits. I love building a new habit on top of a habit that's already established. And that's in some of my earlier podcasts. But it's a concept that I pulled from James Clear's Atomic Habit books, which is just awesome. So, if you're taking a walk, going up the stairs, something that you do every day, stack on top of that, like thinking on purpose, exercising your positive thoughts about yourself. And recall this piece of research in the podcast today that says exercising positive thoughts can quite literally change one's reality. Exercising positive thoughts can quite literally change one's reality. So as long as it's something that you believe you do well, exercise it. Talk to yourself about it. Like, oh man, that particular gumbo or jambalaya that I made, man, it was so yummy. And then just talk to yourself about how everybody loved it or what you loved about it, or just note all of the work that you've put into learning how to do it and the enjoyment that it has created in your life and how it allows you to give so much enjoyment in other people's lives. Like, practice spending active time during your day while you're taking that walk or going up those stairs, and think about that thing that you do well. Exercise your positive thoughts. Here's another quote from the research. This one, I'm going to issue a warning before I read this quote, because it does contain a couple of kind of scientific terms. It's not a long quote, and don't let that turn your brain off. So lean in a little bit, know it. You're going to hear a couple of technical terms. By holding a positive and optimistic word in your mind, you stimulate frontal lobe activity. This is in your brain, frontal lobe activity. This area includes specific language centers that connect directly to the motor cortex responsible for moving you into action. Okay. So when you hold a positive and optimistic word in your mind, it triggers in your brain the areas that move you into taking action. And as our research has shown, the longer you concentrate on positive words, the more you begin to affect other areas of your brain. So this is important, right? And it needs to be trained in your brain. It's an area where training is important. It's an area where you need to take what we call intentional action. And I want to share with you that my ability to speak highly of myself, to hold myself in high regard, was something that didn't come naturally to me either. And I began to develop a true sense of appreciation for myself because I began to notice the impact that my own negative self-talk was having on my life and in my relationship, in my marriage, and in my friendships, and also in my career. And that I was depending or needing validation, external validation from other people. And as I became older, I also noticed that I wasn't receiving as much external validation as I had when I was a child. And I began to get a little confused about that at first. I thought that that was a true reflection on me. But what I came to realize is that no, as you grow older and as you become an adult and as you become accomplished in the things that you do, it is your responsibility to hold yourself in a high regard. And you can relieve the other people in your life from the burden or the responsibility of needing to validate you, or you feel good about yourself. It's something called codependence, and it really isn't healthy. And so while I was let's just say one of my 5 love languages was words of affirmation. I ended up in a relationship with someone whom I truly loved who didn't speak that love language. But their love language was something totally different, acts of service. I had to begin to understand my value that I brought to the relationship. I had to begin to understand and grow myself up, my emotionally mature myself to be able to hold myself in a high regard and not need that from another person. And the interesting thing is, the more I exercise that muscle of thinking, exercising positive thoughts about myself, it was like a rising tide. You know, that saying that a rising tide raises all ships. As you begin to think and hold yourself in high regard and to think positive thoughts about yourself, you're just creating and broadening your perspective on holding others in a higher regard too. Like you develop the skill of finding things that are amazing about other people, and you start to reflect that to them as well. And then that becomes a really something that attracts people to you. You know, people enjoy being around you because you see something in them that maybe they don't quite see yet for themselves. But because you were the one who went first, right? You were the one that took a leadership role in exercising a positive outlook on yourself. You were the one who said, yes, my words matter, my self-talk matters. Things I think about myself and say about myself matter. And then what I think and say about other people, therefore, matters too. And you're changing the world. And if you can teach that to a child or model it to a child, now you've created generational change. And at the end of the day, that's how we evolve as a collective humanity, right? That's how we make the world better. We do the one thing that we can do. And in this case, that's change how we speak to ourselves. And again, it's not going to be easy because you have all these neural pathways that are established and are running efficiently by your unconscious. But that's why you're going to get to the gym every day. And by gym, I mean your pen, your journal, your legal pad, whatever you have. And you're going to spend that time like noticing and thinking intentionally about things that you do well or things that you can say about yourself. And then you're going to begin to notice the things that you say about yourself that are unkind. And you're going to remember that sticks and stones may break your bones, but words can really hurt you. And you're going to begin to share that truth with other people. And that is how easy it is for all of us to change the world that we live in, to make it a better place for ourselves and for others, and to create, brighter futures for everyone. So I'm going to leave you with this quote. Thus, by exercising consistent positive thoughts and speech, we not only change our self-perception, but how we perceive the world around us. Ultimately, this grants us the ability to shape our reality and change the world for the better. So go out there, my friends. Be kind to you. Speak kindly to you. And if you lose your keys, this is my favorite thing to say to myself. If I can't find anything instead of saying, oh, I'm so stupid, I can't remember where I put my keys, you just say, oh, the lazy Susan of my brain will come back around and remind me where I put them. That's it. Just use that. I promise it works on all bad memory tricks or memory things that you can't remember. And it's just an easy and fun way to move yourself, keep yourself in a high regard, and you can hear the optimism in it. I am going to remember the thing. I am going to find the keys. And guess what? I always do. And then I thank myself and I appreciate myself for it. So I hope you give it a try. Thank you so much for listening. And listen, I do want to encourage you, like if you want to go deeper in this work, if you want to take what you've heard in this 30-minute podcast, but really have a place where you can go through the exercises. Where are you intentionally exercising positive thoughts about yourself, about your relationships, about your life, about the things that you want to do? If you don't have a place that you're doing that, and you're a woman, I want to suggest that you make the Soulshine Labs that place for you. The wait list is open right now. You can go to tarasimkins.com and it will be open enrollment for the fall, September 5th through the 10th. So please, if you're looking for that place, come and join us. It's a lot of fun. And listen, what's the worst thing that can happen? Next year, you'll have a lot more nice things to say about yourself. And you'll be that much further along in creating the life that you love. So I hope you'll think about it. And until next time, my friends, XOXO, press on, and don't forget to shine your light in the world because it matters. Thanks.
'Cause I ain't done living the life I'm meant to lead. And I ain't done loving the ones who cared for me. The hope and the strength